Soulection.
What's up, world? My name is Joe K. This is Soulection Radio. In front of me right now, I am so happy to have her. When you think about contemporary R&B, when you think about an amazing writer, right? You think about Jhené Aiko.
Oh.
And as an artist, I want to say, I don't know if you know, but we have some connections. I want to say Tumblr. You posted a track, because I know you're on top of that, and there was this this Drake edit from Sango and Atu, and that was a Soulection. Those are Soulection artists.
Oh, wow.
And you posted it, yeah. And I thought that was about a couple years ago, and I knew once you found that you were in tune and that you were open-minded. I want to say as well, when I saw you at Coachella, and that was the first time I seen you perform on stage, and I just knew that you were a very special artist that people had to pay attention to. And even though you've been in the game for a minute, you could tell that you as an artist have a lot of longevity. How you doing?
Thank you. I'm good. That was a nice introduction.
It's the least I could do. So how have you been? I've met you in passing. I know you meet a lot of people through our friend Jamil, right? Shout out to Juice. And he's done nothing but speak highly of you. And I remember he took me to one of your dinners a couple years ago as well, for the release, Sold Out. And I remember just how real of a person you were, and even though you didn't know me, you had good hospitality. And little did you know that we would be here today, but I always really appreciate it. I appreciate real people. So
thank you.
Yeah. So what are you up to? What's the latest?
I'm just working on myself. You know what I mean? Constantly learning. I'm passionate about learning and becoming a better person every day. So that's like the main thing. Yeah. And that's always reflects in everything that I do in work.
So you made the Jeremiah album just came out as well. I really like that song.
Thank you.
I like the bounce to the beat.
Yeah.
I'm here at Soulection, as you know, we're really about the production.
Yeah.
So it was really cool to hear you on a track like that as well. And you also, obviously with Omarion and Chris Brown. So you made some smart choices, but I'm looking forward to the album. So for 2016, what are we expecting?
For 2016, I'm more of like a present dweller. Right now I'm working on building an arc, and like I said, just working on myself. I write and sing every day. I have a studio in my house. So music is always being worked on.
Yeah.
For this year, I also did the Chirac, I said it right? Yes. Chirac soundtrack with Molly. Contradiction is the song, and that's a really good song also if you haven't heard it. I really have fun writing the verse for him on that. And the R. Kelly feature comes out this month.
Okay.
And that was like, for me, I grew up listening to R. Kelly, probably younger than I probably should have been listening to him, but I grew up listening to a lot of R&B.
Of course.
And obviously he's, R&B living legend. So for me, that was like one of the highlights of this year.
That's amazing.
Was being able to work with him, write a verse for his album. I was just like, I can't let him down. I have to do like a really good verse. So I'm excited for people to hear that.
That's amazing because we're both like late 80s babies, and obviously we caught the tail end, but still old enough and mature to dig into the 90s and the classic golden era of R&B and classic hip hop. So now I know your writing process. You write all of your own music. I'm curious, what's your take on artists who collab with other artists who write with them? What's your take on that?
At first, when I first did my mixtape, Sailing Souls, that was really like my first time like writing everything. And I took a lot of pride in it because I was just like, that was, a lot of work. And I really felt like this was like me really giving myself to these listeners. And the more that I work and the longer that I'm doing it, I understand why people collaborate and get help from writers. And other artists. And I feel like I like collaborating with other artists that, have something to offer more than just like they're trying to make a hit or they're
Mm-hmm.
trying to like have a song that, you know, charts or whatever. Um, so I get it. I get it. I do think that people don't understand how much work goes into like writing a song
Yeah.
completely by yourself because you know it takes a lot of mental energy to really, you know, create the melody and make sure the words are correct and all of that. So, you know, I get it. I don't down anyone for not doing that. And it's a smart, you know, as far as time wise, because sometimes it takes me months to write one song,
Yeah.
like to finish one song. But it's so important for me that the song is an actual, real, you know, emotion and feeling that's really coming from me. And it's hard for me. I'm kind of stubborn in that way. It's hard for me to ask for help or to, even with like friends, I'll be like, does this sound right? And they'll be like, maybe, you know, maybe you could use this word. And I'll be like, no, I'll think of something myself. But just because I like to feel like I didn't give up and I didn't, you know, take a shortcut and ask someone for help. But I get it.
That's real. And you've been singing and writing since you were about 12 or so, right?
Yeah.
You've been in the game for a minute. I think people forget that, you know, even
Yeah.
though, you know, you dropped the tape 2011 and that was like the point where it's like, yo, I'm here. And again, going back to the whole longevity thing. I like how transparent you are with your music. I think that's something I keep stressing with a lot of the younger artists that I've been working with and Soulection and trying to educate our audience is that, you know, it's all about being relatable
Yeah.
and making just good music,
Yeah.
you know. I know you're kind of spiritual and you're really in tune with the world, what's going on and consciousness. Do you wanna speak on that?
Yeah, sure. I mean, ever since I was a child, I always just remember thinking. Like
Mhm.
that was just, I didn't talk a lot. I was in a house with a whole bunch of kids and I'm the youngest of five for my mom. My dad has more kids, but
Mhm.
for my mom, I'm the baby. And yeah, I just remember always just sitting in the room just looking at everything and just taking it all in and just really thinking and asking questions. And I was homeschooled. I started doing homeschool in the 7th grade.
Oh wow.
So a lot of the time that a lot of kids were socializing, I
Uh-huh.
was literally just in my grandmother's backyard, like looking at a flower for an hour. You know what I mean? Like doing like weird stuff like
Do
that.
you feel when you were around kids at that age, did you feel like an outcast or did you feel different from everybody?
Yeah. When I
Okay.
was in like elementary, I thought that I was just just like I can't believe you guys are like I don't know. I just always more so now I feel more like I'm getting into my youth. Like I
You're
feel
catching up.
like the Benjamin Button type of thing, but when I was in elementary, I just always felt like I was too mature to like boys and to like want, you know, stuff like that. But then towards middle school, then I got a little bad and mischievous and sneaky. But that was at that time, that's when I got on homeschool.
Mhm.
So most of my friends were like at least 3 years older than me. Like
Okay.
my youngest friends were 3 years older than me.
Yeah.
So, and even with them, I was the one that gave them like their first drink and their first like
Yeah.
smoke and all that of weed, not cigarettes, because cigarettes are bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just for me, I experienced like my first real loss when I was maybe like 4 or 5, and it was my great grandmother. And she was like the first person that I really felt like, oh my God, I love you so much. Like even more than like my parents. Like I love them. But when I first met her, I met her when she was really, really old, and she probably died like the year after. So that was my first loss, and that was my first, and I was so young, but I remember questioning like, what does that mean? Like what happens now to her? And ever since then, I was just very intrigued by death and like understanding like the spiritual world.
Yeah.
So ever since then, it's just been a
It's
continuous,
been a part of your life.
yeah.
So one thing that I've noticed is your albums and your projects, they either have the word soul in it, like sold or sailed. Do you kind of want to speak on that and what the whole
Yeah.
meaning behind that is?
So I'm really into wordplay. That's something that my dad always does. He's like the king of the acronym and wordplay. So that's how it started for me. I think I spelled a word wrong one time on Twitter. This is before the mixtape. I meant to use the sell like SELL and I put SALE and Chasing Cash like corrected me. And we just went back and forth like, oh yeah, da da da. And then during that conversation, I thought of Sailing Souls.
Yeah.
And I'm a Pisces, I'm a water sign, and I love anything that has to do with water. I love sunset sails. And so, which is like when you go on the boat during sunset. Okay. Not like sunset sails where you like buy clothes, whatever. Stupid joke. So when I thought of that like wordplay, and I knew that it would be a little bit like, it would make people be like, like, what do you mean sailing souls? Because it sounds like selling souls, like selling your soul to the devil and stuff like that. And it was just like completely the opposite. Yeah. So I don't mind explaining myself. So for me, it was like, I'm going to name my project this and I'm going to explain it to whoever needs to.
The internet, it's a funny place how they try to take something and try to align it with your success or who you associate with and try to make excuses, right? It's a trip.
It's crazy because I think I'm the furthest thing from a sellout. Yeah. But a sellout, as in anecdotes, that's exactly what it's another thing. And it's wordplay for me, it's a common sense type of thing. Like this is a different word and it has a different definition and it's not any trickery behind it. No, I agree. It's just a deeper meaning. But a lot of people, especially nowadays,
try to analyze too much.
They don't have but if they analyze too much, they would actually get to the actual meaning of it. So people, they just read titles and headlines and they don't really like to do research and like dissect things. Yeah. And for me, I love doing that. That's like taking apart a puzzle and putting it back together. And that's the fun in it. But so for me, like I said, I don't mind explaining it, but it has nothing to do with anything evil. It's the opposite. And
clear the record.
Yeah. And I just feel like for me, like the soul music comes from the soul. Yeah. So it's
and I feel that in your music as well.
Thank you. Yeah. It's the universal language of the soul, know. So that's why I've incorporated it in those projects.
Earlier you actually mentioned right now about like you're not a sellout. Now what's crazy is that you have the demeanor like you are a independent or indie artist. At least that's how you come off to me and to my crew. And I think it's tight because you're with Def Jam, you're with Universal. But do you ever feel being on a major like it gets in the way, or this type of pressure from the success and all the eyes on you in terms of your creative control? Does that ever get in the way?
I would say that I came up during the MySpace days, like doing stuff on GarageBand and just putting it on MySpace. You know what I mean? And then I did my mixtape and that was free and it was all cool. And then towards the EP, I started getting a little taste of like how the label could get in the way as far as like timing. And it was just, I'm the type that I'll record a song and I feel like people need to hear this now and I want to put it up. But now there's all these things where, the song is tracked back to the label and it'll just get taken down right away just by a computer or by, it's have a code on it or whatever. And I'm just like, what? So that's like foreign to me, but I have control. Everything that I do is because I say, this amazing. Is what's going on. Me and my team, we're in control of everything that I do. There's definitely suggestions that always take place, but I'm always, everything that I do is, my decision.
That's amazing. And it's great because you've also, early on, you've worked with artists who are so relevant and important to the culture right now in the R&B and hip hop world, like Kendrick, Drake, Kanye, Childish Gambino, even Jeremiah. And I think it's dope how you worked with them in an early phase in their careers, and then they also tied you back into their albums, or even someone like J. Cole. Like I know you just did the a tour with him, right? And I think that's amazing that everyone has kind of given back and vice versa. Yeah. And it must be dope to also watch them progress as artists as well. And in this world, it's enough for everyone to eat off of it. How does that feel, like watching and knowing that these people were shoulder to shoulder, still are, or even peers, and now now you work with them and you guys are all eating? How
I
does
was literally just thinking about that the other day. First, I want to say the Kanye feature was basically me like stealing his verse off of something. So that one hasn't actually happened yet, but I'm open to it.
Of course.
But yeah, I think it's
did
dope.
he ever hear that, by the way? Did he ever, like,
I have
did
no
his
idea.
team ever hit you up?
That might be why we haven't worked together, because he heard it like the audacity. Just still, because really what it is that it was from his, like a cipher, like at the Hip Hop Awards cipher.
Okay.
And I had recorded my song already, but when I saw that, I was like, oh, his verse fits what I'm talking about in this song. So we ripped the audio. Yeah. So, yeah. So I don't know if he's heard it, but.
Yeah. But in terms of the others, like Kendrick and Drake, and obviously, you know, that the From Time song, that was a great song as well.
Thank you.
And I feel it's just really cool to watch everyone, you know, come back together.
Yeah, it's super cool. I think that, you know, everything happened earlier on, and it was like, even then, I'm always super flattered, I guess, when someone that I respect their talent, you know, wants me to work with them and wants me to write on something, because people send me stuff all the time and it's already written, and I'm just like, come on, you know I write, like you know I write, like it's almost like,
play with me like
come
that.
on. Yeah. Sometimes it's good, and I'm just like, okay, but let me get a verse too, like let me
like
write
the
a
joint
verse.
with Omarion and Chris Brown. Yeah, like a song like that, right?
Right, that one was written. Their parts were on it. It
was like a collaboration.
It was a collaboration, but Micah Powell, who I've worked with before, he's someone I've known since when I was like, before I was a teenager. Because that song was already written and I was like sort of coming into it, I wrote that verse with him. And yeah, situations like that, when it's a collaboration, I just feel like
if it's the right thing, it's the right look or the right feel. It's a fun record as well.
Exactly.
How was it? Speak a little bit on the J. Cole tour and how that, I mean, it's crazy to see how much he's progressed and to see the, you know, selling out arenas as well. And was that a great experience for you? Yeah,
it was, though I would say that I didn't know what to expect going into that tour, just because I guess every tour is like that. I'm so in my own world where I'm always just working on my own stuff that I don't really know what anyone else is like, what their audience is, you know? And the vibe of that tour was really chill. It was really chill. It was even like backstage, it just felt good. Like,
it wasn't about the turn up all day.
Yeah, it wasn't. And that was cool.
That's refreshing, actually, because a lot of these, you know, shows and people think they have to turn up and it's all about energy levels, but people could be vibing in the crowd without having to jump up and down.
I had to learn that, because I realized that I don't make turn up music. I make like very introspective, like thinking music, vibey,
feel good music, good vibes only.
Yeah. And so when I first started performing, I never considered myself like a performer. So I was just like do they like it? Like, are they listen, you know? And I remember one show, I like asked the crowd, like, you know, to make note. I asked them something, and then someone like tweeted me after, like, girl, like that's not what you do at your show. Like, you just, you know, at one of your shows, you just sit there and listen to you sing. Like, that's what it's about. And I'm like, okay. But yeah, definitely I feel like the turn up backstage is not, like, especially on a tour.
You want to be comfortable.
You want to be comfortable. You have to, you know, keep your energy for the show the next day. So you can't always, you know, have a party.
Yeah, I know you just played at the Odd Future Festival, right? You performed, and you had your own, was it like a booth or an experience? I saw, talk about that.
The Aiko in Wonderland Tea House.
Was that open to the public?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. We were giving out free tea, making sure everyone's energy was right for the festival. It's something I've done once before. And it's really, it's just an experience. I love tea, and I just think that it can really balance you and comfort you. And at like festivals, there's not a lot of safe havens. You know what I mean? It's just like party, 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 party.
We were just talking about that.
Yeah, and then it's nice to find a little hideaway where you can like gather yourself, center yourself, make sure you're good. Did
Tyler reach out to you personally? He's like, yo, I want you to be a part of the festival.
not really personally, but he's from Ladera,
Okay.
which is near where I grew up.
Got it.
And so he actually, me and my friend Chrissy, he helped us one day. Like the car I was in broke down, and she knew him, and she was like, "Could you watch our car like while we go walk to get something or whatever?" And he did it. When we got back, he was still just there, like watching the car for us. And this is before he, he got extra big. So she reminded me, like, right when he put out the video with him eating like the roach.
Oh yeah.
She was like, remember you remember he washed the car for us? And I was like, oh my God, like, yes, like, I love him. He's so sweet for that. And even still, like, he still is super down to earth.
That's a great story as well, to watch him, take an idea and have his own festival and include like all his friends and people that you guys are from the same city.
Yeah,
So
that was, I mean, for me, it was more important than Coachella because it was right in the city. You know what I mean? It was right where, I mean, my aunt lives right over there. You know what I mean? I went over there to get my hair done every week. So it was just like to perform there.
It was like a homecoming show.
It was like a homecoming. And it was just to see him be able to do that. You know what I mean? Just to see him realize that dream was just like, it was like inspiration for me and motivation to just like, wow,
Yeah. Well, on the last note, I do want to tell you that when I announced that you were going to be on the show a couple of weeks ago, people were excited. I feel like a lot of women in particular really look up to you and could tell that you have a voice and a stance with them. So I know people are just waiting and they're being patient. And I want to thank you again for coming on the show.
Thank you.
And I would love to see how we could, we're planning some big things for next year on a production and on a festival level.
Okay.
We'll definitely love to have you a part of that because your music coincides with us. So thank you again for coming in.
I'm down.
Yes.
Thank you for having me.
Much love. You are welcome here anytime. And we are out. Thank you guys for listening.